Ever feel like, I don't know, the future's kind of like breathing down your neck?
I'd say that's a fairly accurate description of, well, existence in 2024, right?
Right.
What's got you feeling that way specifically?
Well, today, it's all about product management, which everyone's saying is like the road to the future. But get this, even AIs want in on the action.
Okay, color me intrigued. You gonna tell me Siri's got a side hustle designing apps now?
Pretty much. We are diving into a podcast called PM 101 Explore Product Management. But here's the kicker. The hosts. They're AI personalities. Rick and Summer, actually.
Hold on, like actual artificial intelligence, teaching actual humans the ins and outs of product management.
And it's wild, right? Like, imagine getting career advice from the same tech that powers your smart toaster.
See, now you're just making me hungry. But okay, on a serious note, this is way more than just a gimmick. It actually speaks to a fundamental shift in how we learn. AI, in theory, can personalize education in a way humans just can't. Think about it. A program that adapts to your pace, your style, feeds you exactly what you need to know when you need to know it. That's powerful.
It's like having a personal, hyper-intelligent tutor available 24/7. But before we get too carried away with the robot overlords taking over education.
Which, let's be honest, is always a slight concern lurking in the back of our minds these days.
Exactly. They did bring in a human expert, Aaron Demnath, a.k.a. the Product Geek. So it's this interesting blend of cutting-edge AI and like good old-fashioned human experience.
Which is essential, let's be real. Especially in a field like product management. It's not just about data points and algorithms, right? You got to understand people, what they want, what they need. And that's where a seasoned pro like Aaron Dom really shines, I'd imagine.
It's like the AI might tell you the statistically perfect product to launch based on like a million data points. But Aaron Dom could tell you if people will actually want to buy it, you know? And he can probably give you some killer marketing tips while he's at it.
There you go. It's that human touch. And speaking of marketing, did you catch the podcast's tagline? It's something like, tell your friends, help us go viral.
Wait, really? That's kind of meta, right? They're literally using the principles of product marketing to promote their product management podcast.
Precisely. They're living their own curriculum, which I gotta say is pretty slick. But let's get back to your original point. This whole thing, it really does make you think about the future of education, right? If AI can teach something as complex as product management today...
What can it teach tomorrow?
Exactly. And that's the real question, isn't it? What field will they revolutionize next? Ever find a product that's so good, so useful, you just have to tell everyone?
Yeah, like it's almost an instinct.
Totally. That's the kind of magic a killer go-to-market strategy can capture.
Exactly. That initial push can make all the difference.
For sure. And in this deep dive, we're going to break down how to launch a product with real impact.
We'll be diving deep into the world of growth hacking, too.
Love it. We're unpacking your source material on everything from APIs to A/B testing, so get ready to take some notes.
And no matter your tech background, we'll find you some seriously actionable insights that I can promise.
You know, it's funny. We always talk about launching something new, but what about breathing life into a product that's been sitting on the shelf?
Or taking something familiar to a whole new market.
Right. It's like hitting the refresh button.
That's where a solid go-to-market plan comes in.
Okay, I can already tell I'm going to be saying go-to-market a lot. So is GTM the shorthand?
Yep, GTM much easier. Everyone in the industry uses it.
GTM it is, but just to be sure, we're talking about more than just like putting an ad online, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a roadmap, a guide through those make or break first steps of a product's journey.
So it's a roadmap, but instead of leading to buried treasure, it's guiding my product to market domination. I'm in.
Exactly.
But let's break it down. What does a killer GTM strategy actually look like?
Okay, imagine a symphony, right? All these different elements working together in perfect harmony.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
First, you got to define your audience. Who are you trying to reach?
Makes sense. Got to know who you're playing to.
Right. And what are their pain points? What keeps them up at night?
Then comes the value proposition, or as I like to call it, the why should I care factor.
Exactly. Why should they choose your solution over the competition?
So it's not enough to just have a great product. You need to articulate why it matters, especially in a crowded market.
100%. And that's where messaging comes in. Crafting a concise, compelling message that captures attention and clearly communicates your value.
It's like that elevator pitch that leaves them wanting more.
Exactly. But it doesn't stop there. You need to map out the entire customer journey.
From the moment they first hear about your product to the moment they hit that buy button.
You got it. How will they discover your product? What steps will they take from that initial spark of interest to becoming a loyal customer?
This sounds like a massive team effort, especially for the product manager. They must be juggling a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
The PM is vital in shaping this customer journey.
Like the conductor of that orchestra we were talking about.
Perfect analogy.
Mm.
They work closely with marketing, sales, the development team, but to make sure everything's running smoothly.
Talk about wearing many hats.
And then there's the pricing strategy to consider. Are we going premium, competitive, or value-driven? And the sales channels, online, retail, partnerships, you name it.
This might sound like businessy stuff, but it all feeds back into how the user experiences the product. Like stumbling on an incredible app, but then, bam, it costs a fortune.
Huge turnoff.
Right. So even if you're not in sales or marketing, knowing this stuff is key.
It affects the whole experience.
Totally. But speaking of experience, a product can't live on strategy alone. Eventually, we got to build this thing right.
And that's where design comes in. Last week, we talked wireframing, the bare bones.
Right, like the blueprint.
Now it's about mock-ups and prototypes, bringing those wireframes to life.
Ooh, okay, so mock-ups. Are we talking color palettes, fonts, the whole visual shebang?
Exactly. Giving stakeholders a taste of the final product.
Ah, so instead of just talking about an app's features, you whip out a sleek mock-up.
Precisely. It just clicks better.
I get it, I get it. But how's a mock-up different from a prototype? Is it just fancier transitions and stuff?
It's about making it interactive. A prototype, you can actually click through it.
Ah, so it's the difference between looking at a picture of a delicious meal and actually getting to taste it.
Perfect analogy. And just like a test kitchen, prototypes help us catch design flaws early on.
Way better to find out the navigation is clunky before it goes live.
Exactly. And let's not forget stakeholder buy-in.
There's nothing like seeing that aha moment when you show someone a tangible working version of your vision. But before we get lost in the weeds, what tools are out there for creating prototypes?
Oh, tons of great options, even some that are free to use.
Music to my ears?
Figma, InVision, Adobe XD, Overflow. They're super powerful, but still pretty user-friendly.
And those aren't just fancy buzzwords. Those are tools our listeners can start exploring today.
Exactly. Most have free trials, so no excuses.
I love it. Okay, folks, hold on to your hats because we're about to take a sharp turn from the visual world of design to something a bit more abstract.
Time to demystify the world of APIs.
Ooh, APIs. Everyone throws that term around, but I feel like it's often shrouded in a bit of technical mystery.
Right. But they're more crucial to our digital lives than people realize. Remember last week when we talked about how software talks to each other?
Vaguely.
Well, APIs are the language they use to communicate.
So it's bigger than just like lines of code for tech folks.
Much bigger. Even if you think you're not interacting with APIs, I can almost guarantee you are every single day.
No way. Really?
Absolutely. They're kind of the unsung heroes of how we experience the digital world.
Okay, blow my mind. Give me an example.
Ordering food online, booking flights, even checking the weather on your phone. APIs are quietly working behind the scenes to make it all happen.
Oh, wow. Okay, so APIs are literally everywhere, but hold on, they're also products?
Yes. Think of an API as a digital vending machine for data. You put in a request, hey, I need this specific piece of information, and boom, the API delivers it, all neatly packaged and ready to use.
Hold on, I need to wrap my head around this. So it's like, I want a snack, I put my money in, I press the button, and I get my snack, but instead of chips, it's information.
Exactly.
Okay, that's kind of blowing my mind. Give me a real-world example.
Okay, imagine Google Maps, right? It's got every street, every business, all that data.
Right, a ridiculous amount of information.
Exactly, but you can't just download all of Google Maps onto your phone.
Yeah, that would be insane.
So Google uses an API. When you need directions, your phone sends a request to Google's Maps API. Hey, I need the best route from point A to B, and the API sends back just that data.
So your phone doesn't need a mini version of all of Google Maps.
Precisely. It just needs the relevant bits,
Yeah.
and the API makes that happen. That's an API product in action.
Wow, okay. And someone gets to manage this digital vending machine empire as their job. That's wild.
Oh yeah, API product manager is a very real and very demanding job.
I bet. What kind of challenges do they face?
Let's see, you've got version control, documentation, making sure it works seamlessly with different systems. It's a lot.
It's like being a data whisperer or something. They must need to understand both the tech side and what the user needs from that data.
You hit the nail on the head. And speaking of data, our API adventure brings us to another big topic, analytics. specifically SQL and MySQL.
Hold on. Are we talking about actual coding now? Because if this is turning into a coding boot camp, I might need a little head start.
Don't worry, no coding just yet. Think of SQL, that structured query language, by the way, as a way to ask your data-specific questions.
So less about writing code, more about knowing the right questions to ask.
Exactly. And MySQL is a type of database that structures information in a way that makes it easier to analyze with SQL.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection. We've got all this data from APIs, website traffic, user interactions. SQL is like the key to unlocking what it all means.
Precisely. Let's say you're managing an online store, right? And you want to know how many people bought a specific product in a certain city.
You could dig through spreadsheets for days.
Or you could use SQL to ask your database that exact question.
So instead of searching for a needle in a haystack, I can just ask the haystack to hand me the needle directly? That's some serious efficiency.
You got it.
Okay, pretend I'm that manager. What's the magic phrase, the SQL spell, to summon this data?
Let's say you want data on your premium plan, costs 999 INR, and specifically in Delhi. You'd write something like, select star from customers, where package equals premium and price equals 999, and e-cushion equals Delhi.
Okay, I won't pretend to understand all the symbols, but I can feel the power in those words. I'm guessing knowing SQL is pretty high up on the list of essential PM skills these days.
You're right on the money. Being able to pull meaningful insights from raw data that's crucial for making informed decisions.
Data really is the lifeblood of product management, isn't it? It's like having a direct line to your users, understanding their needs, what makes them tick.
It's all connected.
It is. But before we dive headfirst into the data abyss, let's shift gears to something a little more, shall we say, personal?
Oh, what do you have in mind?
Let's talk about those first few months as a brand new product manager. Exciting, but I bet it can feel overwhelming too.
Totally. You've got all these new people, new processes, you're still finding your feet.
Right. Luckily, we've got some advice from the trenches on how to not just survive, but thrive in those first 90 days as a PM. Okay, so picture this. It's day one, I'm fresh out of PM school, maybe just finished that last online course, and I'm raring to go. What's rule number one in the product management handbook?
Well, those first 30 days, it's all about soaking up knowledge, like you're back in school almost.
A crash course in the real world of product management.
Exactly. You'll meet everyone, the engineers, designers, marketing folks. You need to understand their roles, how they work, how everyone collaborates.
Lots of coffee dates with the team, I imagine. But I'm guessing getting up close and personal with the product itself is top priority too.
Absolutely. Become a user, explore every feature, really get to know the product inside and out. Figure out what makes it tick, where it shines, and where it could use some love.
Identify those strengths and weaknesses. Like, be honest with yourself, right?
Honesty is key. And you've got to understand its success metrics too. How does the company measure success? User engagement, revenue.
Every product is aiming for something.
Exactly. Knowing those goals from day one, it's crucial.
Got it. So by week 4, I'm fluent in product speak, I know the ins and outs of the product, and I've navigated the company kitchen without getting lost. Check, check, check. What's next on our whirlwind PM tour?
Time to shift from absorbing to doing. The next 30 days are all about building relationships, showing what you've learned.
So less observing, more participating.
Exactly. Remember those sprint planning meetings we talked about?
Yeah, they sounded kind of intense.
Well, now's your chance to shine. Contribute ideas. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Wait, they're letting me near the whiteboard already.
Ha ha. That's the spirit. Use this time to connect with your manager, figure out their priorities. And don't underestimate the power of networking. Go to industry events, join those PM groups online.
Find your people, basically.
Sharing experiences, bouncing ideas off each other, it's invaluable.
Networking, strategizing, becoming one with the sprint cycle. It's a lot. But I feel like the real test is about to begin, right?
You're catching on quick. Days 61 to 90, it's showtime. Time to roll up your sleeves and actually ship something.
From PM in training to PM in action. Okay, I'm excited, but also, where do I even start?
Remember those user stories we talked about?
The ones that outline what users want and how the product should work. Yeah, they seemed pretty important.
They are. Now's the time to put them into practice. Work with designers on those mock-ups, hash out the details with the tech team, get ready to ride the sprint cycle wave.
Ah, the sprint cycle deadlines, code, late nights. That's where the magic happens. What's the PM's role once the sprint is in full swing?
Think of yourself as the conductor, making sure everyone's in sync, that the music flows. You'll be there to clear any roadblocks, make those split-second decisions to keep things moving.
And through some miracle, weeks of hard work, maybe an unhealthy amount of coffee later, it's launch day.
Enjoy that feeling, you've earned it. But remember, a PM's work is never really done.
Oh, right, we talked about that. It's not set it and forget it. There's always more to do.
Exactly. Keep an eye on those performance indicators, see how users are reacting, and be ready to adapt based on that feedback.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Though, speaking of sprints,
Smooth transition. You ready for this?
haha, I try. But let's be real, even getting your foot in the door for that dream PM role, that's a challenge in itself.
Oh, tell me about it. The job market can be a tough nut to crack.
Luckily, we've got some tried and true advice on navigating the wild world of job hunting.
We're going to help you stand out from the crowd.
Love it. And our source material highlights 7 key tasks to tackle, starting with those online profiles. LinkedIn, that's basically your digital resume these days, right?
It's your storefront, your first impression. Make it shine. Highlight those skills, those projects you're proud of, and don't be afraid to let your personality peek through.
Got it. Got to jazz up that profile. Okay, next up, figuring out what I actually want in a role. It's easy to get lost in the sea of job postings, so how do I narrow it down?
Time for some introspection. What are your non-negotiables? Location, company size, industry, salary expectations.
What matters most? What am I willing to compromise on?
Exactly. Figure out your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, and be realistic.
Right, got to manage those expectations.
Exactly. Rome wasn't built in a day, and your dream PM career won't be either.
Okay, I've got my list. Now it's time to face the music of those job boards.
Yeah,
Any tips for cutting through the noise?
definitely. Use those keywords strategically, set up job alerts so you don't miss anything, and don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Sometimes the best opportunities are the ones you least expect.
100%.
Okay, I've spotted some promising leads. What's next? Hit that apply button with reckless abandon.
Not so fast. Take a breath. Read those job descriptions carefully. Do your skills and experience actually align with what they're looking for? Can you see yourself fitting in with their company culture? Don't be afraid to be a little picky.
Quality over quantity, I like it. I'd rather send out a few really strong applications than a ton of mediocre ones.
Now you're thinking like a PM. And here's a pro tip. Keep a job hunting journal. Track the companies, the dates, any contact info.
Stay organized, stay sane.
Exactly. It's a marathon, remember? But even with the most perfectly crafted application, there's always that element of luck.
Always a roll of the dice for it.
To some extent, yeah.
Mhm.
But what you can control is your attitude and your effort. Approach each application with energy. Let your passion shine through, and most importantly, believe in yourself.
I love that energy. It's all about taking ownership of the journey, right? You put in the work, trust the process, and eventually the right opportunity will present itself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And this next topic, it's something you'll likely encounter both in your job search and in your PM career, A/B testing.
Ah, yes. A/B testing, the scientific method of product development. Sounds kind of intimidating, but at its core, isn't it something we all do every day without realizing it?
Exactly. Choosing between 2 different brands of coffee at the store, trying on different outfits before a night out.
Deciding what to watch on Netflix. The struggle is real.
Exactly. We're constantly weighing our options, running these mini A/B tests in our heads to try and figure out what the best choice is.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. But how does this translate to, say, designing an app? We're not exactly asking users to pick between 2 shades of blue for a button, are we?
Sometimes it is exactly that. But you're right, it's usually about more than just visual tweaks. Imagine you've got a web page for your product. You want to know which headline grabs people's attention and gets them to click.
So you create 2 versions, same page, different headlines.
Exactly. Show each version to a different group of users and see which headline performs better. That's A/B testing in action.
So simple, yet so powerful. It's like having a data-driven crystal ball helping you make those tough decisions. But it's not just some new age marketing tactic, right?
Oh, not at all. You'd be surprised to learn A/B testing has been around for ages. We're talking early 1900s, used in agriculture, even medicine, to compare different treatments.
Wow, A/B testing older than sliced bread. And just like those early experiments, it's revolutionized the way businesses operate.
Totally. Making decisions based on data, on what users actually respond to, that's huge.
It is. And speaking of data-driven decisions, A/B testing often goes hand in hand with 2 frameworks we're going to unpack today, HEART and RR. They sound like pirate treasure maps for product success.
I like that. And in a way, they are treasure maps, but instead of leading to gold, they lead to happy, engaged users, which, let's be honest, is even better.
True, true. Okay, let's start with heart. What's the philosophy behind it?
Art is all about measuring what truly matters, the user experience. It's easy to get caught up in those vanity metrics, likes, shares, downloads, but they don't always tell the whole story.
Right, sometimes those numbers can be misleading.
Exactly. Heart digs deeper, focusing on what actually indicates a product's success.
So it's less about fleeting attention and more about genuine engagement, satisfaction, those deeper connections.
You got it. It breaks down the user experience into 5 core areas: happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success. We'll get into each one, but first let's hop over to that other treasure map, AARR. It takes a slightly different approach, focusing on the customer lifecycle from start to finish.
All right, let's unfurl this ARR treasure map. Where does it lead?
So each letter, it stands for a stage in the customer lifecycle: acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue.
Okay, some of those ring a bell from our heart chat. We've got acquisition. Got to get those first-time users in the door, right?
Exactly. It's all about attracting those initial users to your product.
Then there's activation, which I'm guessing is turning those curious looky-loos into engaged users.
Spot on. You want them to actually use the product, not just download and forget about it.
Makes sense. And of course, we can't forget retention. Got to keep those users coming back for more.
Retention is key. It's much easier to keep a user than to find a new one.
Totally agree. But what about those last two, referral and revenue? Those sound pretty essential for, actual success.
They're huge. Referral. That's the dream, right? Your happiest users become your biggest fans, spreading the word and bringing in new customers organically.
It's like that feeling when you find an amazing new coffee shop, you got to tell everyone.
Exactly. Word of mouth is powerful. And finally, revenue. At the end of the day, your product needs to make money, right?
Right. We can't ignore the bottom line.
The ARR framework, it makes sure your product strategy and your monetization strategy, they're aligned.
So it's about sustainable growth, not just a quick burst of downloads that fizzle out.
Precisely. You want to build something that lasts, that keeps those users engaged and, yes, spending.
It sounds like AR is really action-oriented, laser-focused on those specific customer actions.
It is, and that's one way it differs from heart, which is more about measuring the feeling, the emotional response users have to your product.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about picking one framework over the other. It's more about choosing the right tool for the job.
You got it. If I'm trying to boost signups, I might use ARR. But if I want to understand why users are abandoning their carts, I might turn to heart to see where the experience is breaking down.
Two sides of the same coin. This has been so insightful. I can already see myself using these frameworks in my own work. But before we wrap things up, let's circle back to those 5 core elements of heart. We talked about happiness, engagement, adoption, retention. But what about task success? I feel like that one's pretty self-explanatory, right?
It seems like it, but there's a nuance to it. It's not just about whether a user can complete a task. It's about how easily and efficiently they can do it.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about, like, checking a box.
Right. Can they find what they need without pulling their hair out? Can they make a purchase seamlessly? That's task success.
It's like the difference between using a website that's intuitive, easy to navigate, versus one that feels like a maze.
Perfect example. The heart framework.
Yeah.
It understands that a successful product doesn't just get users in the door. It makes sure they have a good time once they're there.
That they achieve what they set out to do. This whole deep dive, it's really driven home the importance of understanding the user, meeting their needs at every step.
It's all connected, right from those early GTM decisions to how you measure success using something like the heart framework.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we've covered a ton today. From go-to-market strategies to APIs, A/B testing, these powerful heart and our frameworks who knew there was so much to unpack.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
True. It's a journey of constant learning, and honestly, that's what makes it so exciting.
Couldn't agree more.
A huge thank you to our listeners for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, the world of product management is always evolving, so never stop learning, never stop experimenting, and most importantly, never stop asking what if. Until next time, happy shipping.